going on, everybody? Today we're here to talk about a smelting furnace. Now, quick disclaimer, I am not an expert. I've never used one of these before. I don't know anybody who's ever used any of these before, but I have seen people in the past using these to melt things, pour them into different liquids. It looks like fun. I want to give it a try, so I ordered this one here from Temu. This was $238 plus a little bit of tax. I think it came out to like $335 with some of the accessories I bought. Now, some of the safety equipment I did purchase on Amazon. Just fair warning, we're not going to be going over too much of that. I'm just going to be kind of wearing it while I do this stuff because I've never done it before and it seemed like the smart play. So again, not an expert, but let's dive into it. So first up, we have a couple of these gas nozzles here. We have a three-way valve here. This is a 1/8 barb fitting. It looks like it's welded in there. Not the prettiest of welds. Yeah, those look pretty rough, but it's Temu. I know gas things with Temu, a little sketchy, but we're gonna try it out. I mean, it's a pipe going straight through, so it shouldn't leak. It looks like that pipe is just welded there to hold it in position. Then you have a couple of gas nozzles inside. Those are gonna connect to these big long pipes here, which are gonna connect to this on the inside, and they are going to allow the propane and oxygen to get into the tank here. All right, a couple other things that came with this. So we have a graphite mold right here. I'm gonna leave this in the package for now, because this graphite I can see on the plastic inside is just gonna get everything dirty. But that is to make a rectangular mold. Then it comes with two crucibles. All right, so here's one of the smaller graphite crucibles. I will say from the ones I've seen online and all the other videos, this one looks a little rough. It has a lot of porous surfaces. I mean, the inside looks fine. It didn't show up broken. I guess these are pretty fragile. They're pretty easy to break. So, I mean, it should work. Just quality-wise, I'm not quite sure where this lines up. If anybody watching this video is an expert, let's get a nice close-up shot. Let me know what you guys think of these. You can see down in here, they do have some extra foam inside of this crucible, and they made it. The larger crucible appears to be about the same. A lot of rigid edges, but again, if it works, it works. It also came with this fire brick. This is gonna go in the bottom. This is what you're gonna set your crucibles and stuff on inside of the base there. We'll get into that here in just a minute. Here's the fire brick there. Also leaving a bit of dusty residue around. Next up, you do have these two lines here. This is gonna be for the propane. Now, these are going to be tightened down with these little screw fittings here. So make sure you get them tight. Make sure to check for leaks if you're gonna try this at home. Then also included is your 30 PSI gas regulator. It's got a little gauge in there. It's got your control knob. This is the end that's gonna connect to the propane tank. And this is the end that's gonna go to your three-way splitter, allowing you to run to two different gas parts. Also included here are some potentially heat-resistant gloves. We'll try them out. I do have a couple pair of my own. I have some from welding and I ordered a new pair just for this video, just to make sure that my hands don't get burned. They're kind of important to me. And then it also has this really weird looking adapter where apparently you put a Bic lighter in the end to help you start this thing so you don't have to get your hands too close. Now on top of that, we also ordered some test metals straight from Temu. So right here, it looks like we have some little copper pellets, then some possibly brass pellets. I mean, it's a pretty cool idea. I had no idea you could order base metals from Temu. I mean, I didn't really know you could order any of this stuff from Temu, but I suppose at this point it shouldn't really surprise me. Now it's interesting, even though these came from Temu, it looks like they came from Menzi Limited. Their address is in Hong Kong, but they also have an address in Germany. A little odd, but yeah. All right, so it looks like it just makes these nice little cylinders for us to test out. So basically you clamp these together, pour the metal down inside of the holes there, and then you clamp it back together with this guy here. Again, guys, I have no idea what I'm doing with any of this stuff. I just want to see if a beginner can do this with pretty limited knowledge. Now, I did look into some safety aspects of this. First off, make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. Apparently, there is some kind of coating you normally put on this ceramic fireproof wool. This did not come with that, so it's recommended to wear a respirator and be in a well-ventilated area. Okay, so these three molds right here, these did not come with the kit. These were all ordered separately. They are graphite and ceramic molds. I just thought it'd be kind of fun to try some things out. We are also going to be pouring some stuff into liquids later because that's kind of what I wanted to do with this. It sounded like fun. Okay, so that is everything that came with it, along with a little bit of extra ceramic wool. I'm gonna be wearing gloves when I deal with most of this stuff. I heard it can make your skin pretty itchy. After the initial setup, which took about 20 to 25 minutes, I decided to try out some brass. I bought 2 different packets of brass pellets from Temu. They were between $6 and $12. It went really well. It melted in about 5 minutes. The melting temperature for brass is 930 C or about 1710 Fahrenheit. I did preheat the mold. This helps to reduce thermal shock, allowing the metal to flow more easily and reduce imperfections in the cooling process. I was a bit concerned about reviews on these crucible tongs, but they work great. Not once did they slip on the graphite crucible. Now, as you can see here, the pour didn't go to plan. I used too much material, and the crucible doesn't have any kind of pouring spout, making it a lot harder to hit the smaller targets.
Whoa.
That metal's burning, don't breathe it in.
Whoa.
Now let's talk about a staple in everybody's metal melting journey. From everything you read online, everything you see, people always start with pop cans. It's an easy, cheap source of aluminum, but let's keep a few things in mind. Pop cans are not great aluminum. They're not great for casting, they're not great for strength, and they're going to have a ton of impurities. You do not want to breathe this stuff in. I was wearing a full respirator mask, as was the guy holding the camera. But that said, it is still fun to do. It is still fun to try, and why not? Just be safe about it, be smart with it, and know that you're going to have probably more slag than aluminum. So what we're looking at here now is me being low on gas. Now this can happen for 2 different reasons, obviously, like I just said, being low on propane. But this can also happen if your propane tank is freezing up, so keep that in mind. But now it's time for the fun part. It's time to clear the slag out, pour some aluminum into some water, see what happens. I did make a pretty big mistake here. I forgot to buy a glass fish tank, and let's just say this plastic container is only used 1 time.
Ready? No, it's good.
All right, so far we've had 0 issues melting aluminum, plenty of aluminum, be it cans, parts, or some aluminum pellets that I ordered directly from Temu. Now we've also melted brass with very little issue. Now we're gonna do a couple more quick tests and then we're gonna try to melt this. As you can see right here, this is 0.999 fine copper, 1 kilogram. Now we're gonna attempt to melt it all in one go right here in the forge, but for this, we're gonna use our bigger crucible. We're gonna run it and see how it goes. Now I did run out of propane before, so we're here next day, but we're gonna hook it up. We're gonna get burning, melt up a few more fun things and see how it goes.
Oh, I broke the plastic again.
I did try the larger crucible. I could not get this thing to sit in there quite right. There was almost no room for the flames. It kept hitting the actual outlets of the burners. So that said, we didn't end up actually using the larger one, and now it's time for the final test. We're gonna go ahead and throw the small crucible back in here, and we're gonna see if this thing can actually melt copper. I was told that's a very solid test to see how hot this furnace actually gets.
golden. It's like, it looks like lava.
Now, shortly after pouring, I did notice it all turned black. Apparently, this is because of sulfur between the air and the actual molds themselves. Pretty normal. So let's take it in. Let's grind it down. I'm going to give you guys my final thoughts on the Temu smelting furnace. Okay, so the first question, should you buy this? Well, first, let's talk about a couple of things involving should you buy this. One, can you get something cheaper? Absolutely. There's a whole bunch of different models out there that you can build DIY style. Do I recommend those? Not entirely. For the price of this and what you get, this is very hard to beat. But then again, I guess let's jump to an earlier question. Should you get a smelting furnace yourself? If you have time and you want to get into a new hobby, this is a very entertaining hobby to get into. I've just barely gotten started and I am extremely entertained by these hunks of metal. Don't get me wrong, the one I started with was far nicer than this, but it's fun. There's obviously a lot of practical uses for it as well. As far as casting goes, just a real quick mention. Earlier, when I mentioned pop cans are not good metal for casting, it's because they're probably closer to pure aluminum. Most things that are aluminum that you use in your everyday life, they're gonna be a mixture of metals. They're not gonna be pure aluminum. They're gonna have a different compound in them, such as silicone to increase strength, long-term durability, and overall quality of the part. Let's talk about the bad. This thing. This is awkward. Just light a piece of paper, throw it in the furnace, fire it up. Super simple, super easy. Don't try to put a lighter down in there. The flames are crazy hot. They will burn you in a second. Second, the gloves that came with this smelting furnace are horrible. Do not use them. Part of them, I realize, is plastic. It could actually melt to your skin. Those are just dangerous. But the rest of it, I give the rest of it an 8 out of 10. The only thing that broke on my whole furnace was the latch for the lid. It looks like a couple of the rivets either melted or came off, and you can see here, there's a couple of spaces in between the actual blanket itself where fire was coming through and might eventually warp the lid. It's not gonna melt it, it's stainless steel. This isn't gonna quite get that hot, although technically it's rated for it. But this more than got hot enough to melt copper, which I'm super impressed with. And I know it was pure copper because of where I bought it and what was stamped on it. Now, next issue I have. If you're gonna be doing this long term, you're gonna wanna get some sealant or a high temperature mortar for the inside over top of that ceramic mat. That seals it up, it's a lot safer. They probably don't ship it that way because that stuff doesn't often make it in shipping. It's pretty brittle, but if you want your furnace to last longer and you want it to be a little safer for your lungs, just YouTube it. It's not hard to put on, it's pretty simple. I will probably be doing that to this one here in the future. I highly recommend this furnace. This thing was super cool. I'm glad I bought it. Just something I thought you guys would really enjoy seeing. I had a ton of fun making this video. If you guys want to see more with something like the smelting furnace or maybe a forge next. I've never tried forging. I can probably be just as bad at that as I am at casting metal. So thanks for watching this one, guys. I appreciate it, and we will see you on the next one.